This video is about the history of midwifery and birthing women and my vision of the future of midwifery. Sheila Kitchinger, in her beautiful book Rediscovering Birth, says, "The culture of a society is made up of all the meanings that are so deeply inscribed into our everyday actions that we rarely question them. It is most evident in the great transitions of life: birth, puberty, marriage, and death. Since the dawn of time, woman-to-woman help in childbirth has been the norm almost everywhere in the world. Social and economic barriers dissolve as women reach out to help each other, especially for a woman's first birth. Childbirth was considered a normal and healthy condition, not an illness, and a woman asked others to assist her if she was especially afraid, if labor was not progressing normally, or if she had a difficult experience the last time. Birth was a social occasion. The laboring woman was at the center of the birthing circle. Anthropologists have been shocked to witness social births which can feel like a party with food, drink, laughter, and gossip. Michel Audant believes that solitary birth is the ideal and is typical of pre-agricultural societies where the physiological processes were disturbed as little as possible, in a human group where the strategy for survival was not to dominate nature. He posits, the greater the social need for aggression and an ability to destroy life, the more intrusive the rituals and beliefs have become in the period surrounding birth. He cites an example of the Kungsas, an African hunter-gatherer culture, where a woman feels the initial stages of labor and leaves the village quietly when birth seems imminent. She walks a few hundred yards, clears a space, and arranges soft bed of leaves, and gives birth on her own while squatting or lying on her side. In prehistoric times, birth was fairly close to Michel Audant's ideal of undisturbed physiological birth. There are some common threads in all traditional cultures. Fear of birth is unknown. Birth is seen as a normal part of life. When a woman becomes pregnant, she does not stop her daily activity. She continues her very active life up until the moment she gives birth. Common birthing positions are squatting, kneeling, standing, or sitting. The lithotomy position is unknown amongst all traditional groups. The custom of welcoming a newborn in a warm, dark room is almost universal, as is the period of postpartum rest for the mother. Throughout history and well into the middle of the 20th century, in many countries, birth was women's work. Helping in childbirth was an extension of the skills of mothering and involved the arts of healing, herbs and special teas to soothe and stimulate. Only if a woman could not find support from other women did she turn to her husband for help. Men knew nothing of childbirth, menstruation, breastfeeding, pregnancy, menopause. These were all women's troubles. However, with the colonization of new lands, women became more socially isolated, and men began to enter the birth space as husbands and doctors. From the 1760s onwards, colonists started to turn from midwives, who represented the old European ways of birthing, to doctors. Medical men had high prestige, and a man was automatically assumed to be better educated than any woman. Up until then, it was a given that women would give birth in upright positions and move freely throughout labor. However, once doctors began attending births, and in the absence of experienced women, the mother was confined to bed, as it was the easiest place for a doctor to monitor her, and she could keep her modesty by being covered with bedding. In the beginning of the 20th century, infection became a major cause of maternal death after childbirth, and doctors added to this risk. When women attended a birth, their help was in the form of emotional encouragement as well as physical support, helping the mother change positions, giving massage, etc., whereas doctors would insert their hands to turn a baby and use instruments to expedite delivery. By the mid-20th century, the overwhelming majority of births happened in the hospital. Unnecessary obstetric intervention combined with streptococcal infection was the cause of a third of all maternal deaths. As late as 1934, a woman delivered by a doctor in the hospital was twice as likely to die as a woman living in the poorest areas attended by midwives. During the shift from home to hospital, female family members and friends and neighbors were seen as intruders in a medical event. In a popular book published in 1975, an obstetrician wrote that everything women said about childbirth was a cartload of rubbish, and warned his readers not to listen to wicked women with their malicious lying tongues. To be a midwife literally means to be with woman. In Italy, a midwife is the woman who places herself in front of the mother. In France, she is the wise woman. In Native American tribes, she is the medicine woman. In Denmark and India, she is the earth mother. In Japan, she is the woman who massages, the woman who picks up the baby, the woman who supports the mother from behind, the bathing woman. In Nicaragua, she is the grandmother of the umbilical cord. All these names have been born from the experience of childbirth as attended by womenfolk over millennia. So where do things stand now? It is promising that the natural childbirth movement gained momentum in the 1970s and 80s in what is called the midwifery renaissance, when middle-class women began inviting granny midwives, unlicensed midwives, and helping friends to attend their home births. A legal battle has been going on for decades about the legalization, regulation, and licensing of midwives. In this ongoing debate, some are in favor of licensing midwives, claiming that midwives will change the system from within and gain the respect of physicians as their equal colleagues. The truth is, neither of these are possible. As Gloria LeMay attests, midwifery needs strong, outspoken, autonomous women to articulate a vision of birth with dignity for all women. Once women are in the legalized system, they are silenced. The role of obstetrics is to get babies out of women's bodies efficiently, timely, and with as large an economic return as possible. Childbirth does not fit nicely in this context. Birth requires a great deal of time and patience to unfold in a healthy way. In sharp contrast, many contemporary doctors still view reproduction as a potentially problematic condition and reserve the label normal as a retrospective term. As Raymond DeVries notes, every pregnancy and labor is treated as though it is, or could be, abnormal, and the weight of the obstetrician's medical education acts against his or her achievement of work satisfaction in the treatment of unproblematic reproduction. I'll end this video with a hopeful intention from Raven Lang, one of the first midwives in California. In the birth book, she wrote, "We challenged hospitals' methods of handling the family as a unit. We challenged the denial of the rights of individuals. We educated people so that the awareness of birth reaches many, and it must for the sake of us all. We have reached out past our own community, touching people and places beyond it. People from all over have come to observe, teach, learn, and exchange ideas. All this increases our strength. We have built a sisterhood and brotherhood that is real and powerful, along with children who are strong and free. None of this would have happened if we had waited for organized medicine to come around, or if we had been scared of the laws we break, or if we had waited for the money. I want to say now, power to the people. You can do it if you want."